text right now.
You didn't answer the question.
Oh, what was the question?
Okay.
Do I like my dad? Yeah, I gotta say, yeah, I like my dad. He's a great guy. We both got in real estate right around the same time, and we, went through a whole educational process and made the kind of the plunge into the whole thing together, and committed quite a bit of money to education, and so we could go out and do all these deals and everything. And but one thing, so we've got all the education, right? We know how to go out and wholesale. We know how to do lease options. We know how to do all these different strategies. But one thing that we've had to constantly work on, I mean, and probably everybody in this room, is, what's going on up here. Because you can have all the training that you want in the world, right? But if your thinking isn't right, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's really what our main goal tonight is, to kind of help you, get yourself on the right path if your mindset isn't right. So I know we've taken up a lot of your time here, so I'd like to introduce my dad, David Painter.
Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight. You're supposed to laugh. And this isn't working. See, me and technology do not get together very well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do I need to unplug this thing?
No.
While he's setting that up, I want you guys to sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight. I have nothing to sell. The whole reason I am here tonight is for one reason, and that is to put money in your pocket, to make you successful. Well, let me back up. Not make you. I can't make you do anything. But to help you unlock some things that will make you successful, that will open the doors, if you will, for you to be successful. Like Marcus said, you can purchase all of the training in the world. If you take a 5-year-old and you give them skill saw, air compressor, framing, nailer, they don't know what to do with it because they're not developed enough. And in many cases, I don't know about you, but when I got into real estate and we went through classes, we were so inundated with information. It's like the 3 days I spent with my mentor, by the time that third day hit, my head was just swimming. It's like, where do I go? It's like I was treading water, trying to tread water, but I was going under. So, that's why we're here tonight. To help you realize what's going on up here. Now, before we really get into anything, let me just back up for a minute, and I want you guys to recognize what goes on behind the scenes to put a meeting on like this. How many board members we have here? Just raise your hand. Just take a round. Okay, yeah, there you go. See all the board members? Every month we have a board meeting. And we discuss ideas. We talk about ideas and venues and topics and that kind of thing. And there are a lot of ideas put out there. These guys work extremely hard, and then not only during the board meeting, but since I'm the president, I get all the texts and messages and ideas, and everything comes to my phone. And that's fine. That's what I want. But these guys work really hard. So before we go any further, I would like for everybody to give all the board members, everybody that raised their hand, a big round of applause for all of the work that they do. Everybody wants to live a larger than life existence. Do they not? If I drink my coffee. Everybody wants to live a life that simply explodes and jumps out with all the possibilities and opportunities that are there. Do they not? Isn't that why you're here? You're here tonight because you want to learn to do real estate technique. You're here tonight because you want to find another way to put money in your pocket. And that is okay. You have a right to be rich. Now, I could give you a list of books to read, and at some point I probably will. At some meeting. That may be on a list of books flashing up on the screen. But tonight, I want you to realize something. And that is that we all want all that life has, and we demand it. Even from the smallest rose to the biggest oak tree to mankind. We all want to expand life. When that little bud comes up on a rose, it doesn't stay there, does it? It begins to open, and it expands, and it grows, and it develops until it's a big, beautiful flower. Because it demands more of life. That's the way all of life has been created. All of us want more of life. So, when we were created, we were designed to live life without limits. You ever thought about that? Now, as I'm speaking, saying some of these things, I want you to ask yourself this question. Do I really believe that? And in just a few moments, we're going to take a look at the mind, the human mind. You realize there's two parts of the human mind, and I'm not talking about the left and right hemisphere. And just to set the record straight, us guys understand that you ladies can operate on both sides. Us guys are just left brain. We understand that. We give you credit. You guys, the ladies, can flip back and forth, and us guys struggle with just the one side. But there are two sides to our brain. Why is it that you can look at something and think one thing, but you fail trying to do it? You ever thought about that? You ever thought about the logic that we were designed to live life without limits? I don't know about you, but that's the way I want to live. I want to live life without limits. And some of you, I can see on your faces, you're thinking, this guy's crazy. Now, I want to use a term, and we'll define it here in a little bit, but that's not a pipe dream. That's your paradigm telling you it's a pipe dream. You see, by the time I hit 70, I have a substantial goal in mind that when I turn 70, it's time to sell the company, it's time to quit doing everything else, and it's going to be playtime, travel time. My wife and I will be traveling and doing Christmas, New Year's, and maybe a couple other holidays in Hawaii. We'll be going to Australia. When I talk about those things, what do you guys think? What are you thinking when I'm saying, Tom, living life without limits, what does that mean to you? Or Mike, what does that mean to you? Living life without Brandon, what does that mean? Living life without limits to you. So that's what I want to look at tonight, okay? Is living, how many of you would like to turn your yearly income into an annual income? Into a monthly income. Say it right here. Any takers? Yeah, I'm on board. And some of you didn't raise your hand because you're thinking, that's illogical. How can you take it and make your yearly income into a monthly income? And I will tell you that the only limits that you have, I'm no different than you. Marcus is no different than me or you or Dave back there. He's no different than us. And we could take time and talk about all of these people in real estate who have made it big in our eyes, who are wealthy. Well, that's just the way it is. It's just the luck of the draw. You know? Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a middle class, average middle class family. My dad was a hard-working man, truck driver, never missed a day in 26 years. Went to work sick. Very hard-working guy. My dad grew up in an era where that's all you did. Men didn't express their feelings. Men didn't do a lot of things. And whatever you were born into, that was just your lot in life. I bought into that. And we're going to see why I bought into that in just a little bit. We're going to see why you bought into your thinking. Now, if I spent any time with you, I could tell you in just a short amount of time what your background is, what your thinking is, based on what we're going to see here in just a few minutes. Let me say from the beginning that in my opinion and belief, any program that does not include faith is an incomplete program.
Amen.
Faith is not something that is mystical. It's not something that is not used every day. In fact, because you sit down in these seats, you're exercising faith. You exercise faith believing that that chair was well made enough to hold you and support you. When you drove over here tonight, you exercised faith thinking, believing that that oncoming car was going to stay in that lane. So faith is not something that we relegate to just certain sects of life. Faith is like the radar that sees through the fog. You ever tried to put a definition on faith? Took me a long time. And here's what I've come up with. My definition of faith is this. It's seeing that which is not as if it were. Believing that which is not as if it were. So, Jim, 10 years from now, can you see yourself multi-millionaire? Do you believe it? Good man. It is seeing that which is not. Do you see yourself as a successful entrepreneur? You should. Now, why do I say that? I say that because this. Who was at our last Saturday networking coffee event? Anybody? Okay. Did anybody hear me say, when you were born, you were given an asset that could be your greatest asset, or it could be your worst enemy? Anybody know what that is? Yeah, your mind. Your mind. That is your greatest asset, and we only use like 10% of it. All the studies, all the reading I've done, everybody says we only use about 10% of our mind. Well, here some time ago I had an MRI done. They were looking at some things, and they only saw half the brain. I just want to make sure you guys are still with me, okay?